Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Betsy Oji of Weibo. I'm a chartered accountant here in Canada. I'm also chartered with ICAN and ACCA. So yeah, on my channel here I share but mostly accounting career, accounting exams, coaching and all of that. Yeah, hit like, hit subscribe please to help grow my channel. Yeah guys, thank you very much. And of course drop me comments on what you want to see more of on this channel. So in today's video, what are we talking about today? Oh my gosh, today I'm gonna rant. Yes, I want to rant about all the reasons why you shouldn't work for the Big Four. Like, yo, don't do it. I'm just kidding, but yeah, I want to just walk through a couple of reasons why the Big Four experience might not be desirable for a lot of accounting graduates. In my last video, I shared with you guys all the positives, like all the beautiful reasons why I totally enjoyed my Big Four experience. However, for every consultant, you always know to give a balanced view, right? We've worked there, we've worked the work, we've experienced it all. So a lot of people might not be vocal enough to share their experience, and that's totally understandable. I'm not demarketing the Big Four. There's no reason for me to do that. I totally enjoyed working for the Big Four. Like, I'm just trying to give a balanced view. So yeah, so if this sounds like a video you want to watch, keep watching. Number one reason why you should not work for the Big Four is they're Big Four. What do I mean by that? Big Four means they have a lot of clients. And what does that also mean? It trickles down to having a lot of work to do. Remember, that was a pro, right? Yes, we said you always be busy, you have work to do, especially during the period referred to as busy season. What is busy season? Busy season for most public accountants falls between January through to sometimes May or June. Like, the first part of the year is considered busier because a lot of companies have their reporting periods ended, 31st December of every year. Some companies also report for 31st of March of every year. So most companies fall between the 31st December and 31st of March every year. So that kind of means that immediately they are done reporting, your job starts as an accountant or as a tax consultant or, an auditor or some kind of management consulting advisory, whatever it is you do for them. That's when you will be largely busier, because they've literally closed their books. So there's a lot of work now for you as an auditor. Yes, so very little time because everybody wants to report. All the banks want to release their statement at the same time. All the insurance companies want to release their statements at the same time. Definitely be busier at some point in the year. So yeah, so a lot of people struggle with busy season because it's usually a crunch. Like, literally you show up every day and there's like deliverables. You have to get stuff from the client. You have to put in the work, punch in your time, overtime. Oh my gosh, a lot of stuff going on at the same time. There's still training you have to keep doing. Regardless of how busy things get, you must complete your training. You must do this, you must do that. So yeah, so there's a lot to do. And I know, trust me guys, I know. I walked the path. I worked for 2 companies in the Big Four, and I can tell you that it's the same everywhere. Don't even think that, oh, this one is busier than this. It's the same thing regardless of where you work. In fact, I worked for 2 countries as well, so I can tell you that Big Four even in Canada, Big Four in Nigeria was the same thing. Yeah, so it's a busy job. Yeah, that's usually a con for most people because, we don't want to give all our lives to working, right? So yeah, so at some point people begin to feel the pressure. So yeah, so that's like my number one ramble about why you should not probably consider working for the Big Four. My next point why you might not want to work for the Big Four is the pressure relating to your performance. Yes, while that might seem like a good reason why you want to work for somebody, like, oh, they care about my performance, for the Big Four it is really serious. Like, performance is taken very seriously because think about it, right? They are trying to build a standard. They want to have like their brand. So that means that they kind of want to people that are like top, best and brightest working for them. So you're hired straight from school, supposedly best and brightest. You have to keep being best and brightest. Yes. So what that kind of means is, regardless of what's going on in your life, let's say you get married or you have children, you expected to show up every day as top notch as you were the day you were hired. So that gives you a lot of pressure relating to your performance. At the beginning of the year, you have to go set your goals with your coach, and then you have to determine what you want to be by the end of the year, your ratings you want to have gotten from the clients that you handled, all of that. Like, there's so much pressure, right? So it's the one job that that you are being watched. Like, I don't know how a lot of other people feel about it, but like, just showing up to work, knowing that everything I'm doing, like somebody's assessing me at every single time, that's pressure, right? Yeah, so if you do not handle pressure very well, you might struggle a bit, knowing that like you're literally how do I put it? Like, you're interviewing every day. You're at your job. You're at an interview because somebody is literally watching how you spoke to the client, how you documented a work paper, how quickly you as little as what kind of font you used to complete a work paper. Did you use the brand font? Oh my goodness, yeah. So everything is linked to your performance, so you have to be like top notch. So yeah, that's a good thing, but in a way, I mean, it can be excessive. So that's why I use the word excessive, because it might not be pervasive across all the firms, but a lot of managers, because they also are being pressured to report and complete the work, they don't care. They honestly do not care how quickly you turn out the work. They just want it to be done as quickly as you can, so that you can move on to the next job. So, and you also want to be, I mean, you want to be a star, right? You want to be a 1 or a 2, or, you know, all of that. Yeah, so please be aware that there's pressure in your performance, so you would always be watched. Big Brother is watching. Yeah, more or less. So yeah, so that's like a huge con for some people why they may not want to work for the Big Four. So these 2 reasons that I've given so far, the long hours considering the number of clients that they have and the busy season, and the performance, like, right, like, oh my gosh, you have to give your best, all trickle down into what we call almost non-existent work-life balance. Yes, guys, because like I said earlier, like I give an example where I say you want to go care for your children, or you want to show up for your child's basketball game, or you just want to be, you know, follow your partner, just have like a quick you know, party over the weekend, or just something that is like what you like to do, like you want to attend your friends' weddings. Now, but you guys get what I mean, like day-to-day life stuff. You might not be able to show up for all of these events, because why? Your excuse is always gonna be, I work for the Big Four, I'm so busy. Yeah, so your work-life balance might suffer a bit, because the clients want their reports at a certain time, so everything is geared towards that period. Like, it's like a literal project management where you know what the end date is. We must report by 31st of July, so that means everything is geared towards reporting at 31st of July. It doesn't matter if your sister had a baby the day before 31st of July, you literally have to, you know, turn out those work papers. Or if you even want to get married or whatever it is, yo, just forget about it. Focus on 31st of July. I'm just giving those examples. Those are like literal extreme situations, but I mean it, right? There are some times where you might feel like you cannot be at your family events, or, you know, other things that you would have typically enjoyed, just because the nature of the work is that there's a crunch. The clients want their deliverable, and the firm has promised that you're going to be delivering it. So that kind of means everything else everybody in that firm has to do is secondary. The deliverable is priority. So yeah, so that is a huge con for working for the Big Four. Another reason why people might not enjoy working for the Big Four, I think that's the word I'll use now, you might not enjoy it if you are assigned to a big client in, for instance, audit. Assuming that you work in audit and you are assigned to a particular bank, the chances are that they want you to remain on that audit because you have cumulative audit knowledge and experience. So for instance, you audit a bank, a huge bank in your country called ABC Bank. What that means is that you know so much about ABC Bank that so long as you're not leaving the firm treats you like an asset. Like, they don't want you leaving that particular audit or that particular consulting, you know, client. They want you to stick to it, like just grow, but keep auditing the same one. So yeah, so that could be a con for those who get, you know, really tired of doing the same thing. So I think it's called monotony. So yeah, so you could get very, you know, kind of bored, repetitive, you know, kind of every year you collect the same file. Yeah, so but they manage this by having you rotate out of that client once you get to a certain level. So let's assume you're a manager or a senior manager and you've done that audit like what, 7 times at some point, because of, again, trying to like avoid that self-review threat and all of that. They might just say, okay, you know what, so the firm checks itself to say, okay, have these guys leave. But if until you get to that point where they really want you to leave because it's not good for them, don't forget, it's all about them, right? So if it's not good for them that you are, you know, the same partner on the job for like how many times, or the same manager, trust me, you're gonna be on that job because you know too much. So you gotta come back and do it again. Yeah, so that could get really boring, and that could get really stressful for a lot of people, especially again if you're an associate and then you join in so early and then you start to audit the same client. It can get really boring, right? But yeah, don't forget, or after the busy periods, you could indicate interest to, you know, go do something else, right? And hopefully you are allowed to, so that can also help with the flexibility. Yeah, another reason why some people do not enjoy working for the Big Four is that travel. Yeah, there's a huge, you know, travel effect, especially for those who are like in lower levels. So you're a staff accountant or you're an associate and then you're working for the Big Four. There's a high likelihood that if you work in financial services, for instance, you might spend your 31st of December, that's New Year Eve, in a vault. Yeah, that's what I always joke about. I'll be like, oh my god, To be able to do some of these audits and, you know, cash counts, inventory counts, and all of that, you might be sent out of town. Yes, because think about it, right? The clients you work for typically are big, so they have branches like all over your country or wherever it is you're doing this work. Maybe you're in Nigeria or something, you're auditing a bank. Of course, that bank has branches in all the states of Nigeria. So when it's time to do the audit, because audits are largely sample based, you have to sample a couple of, you know, offices across the country. So that kind of means somebody has to go check if things are being done at, you know, the controls that are set at the top are being implemented everywhere else. So that kind of means that you would have to travel, unfortunately. Yeah, so having to travel to go do the work is something that is kind of inevitable. Somebody has to do it, right? Yeah, so typically if you just join in the first years of your career, you would likely be the one assigned to go do these checks, right? Yeah, so physical verification of assets, for instance, going to check that a particular plant actually exists or something, you have to physically travel to go do that, right? Yeah, so these are like examples of things that could make you travel. So I mean, for some people who love traveling, then that would be a pro, right? Think about it. But yeah, because it can be literally spontaneous, like oh gosh, you have to go do this you know, inventory count, or have to go do this, it just, you know, messes up everything else. Because for most people that resume to work somewhere, they don't just get randomly sent around to go do something that outside their work you know, location, right? So yeah, so if you work for the Big Four, be prepared that traveling could occur, and I mean, it could just kind of happen spontaneously, and that could affect things for you. So yeah, so it's something you should be aware of, at least as a con for working for the Big Four. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, guys. If you watch this far, it kind of means what I'm saying makes sense, right? Please hit subscribe. Okay guys, my next point is let's talk about money now. Yeah, so what are some of the cons again for working for the Big Four? I mean, relatively, yeah, I use the word relatively very carefully, because relative to other industries, some people, or most people, or most research that I did kind of tends towards saying the Big Four doesn't pay as much for the kind of work that you do, right? Yeah, so I'm not sure if it's because they also don't earn as much as they should from these clients that they audit. Well, who knows? I mean, I'm not partner, right? I can hardly tell. But yeah, but I just mean that generally, I don't think the Big Four just, you know, compensates as good as a typical, you know, accountant would want to earn. So most people go in for the experience. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, so if you're going in for the money, nah, you would not be satisfied, right? Because no matter what it is, somebody, your mate who started in the industry, when you guys, you know, compare what you earn, you might just be like, nah, it's not worth it, right? Yeah, so some people complain about the pay, but I would not focus so much on the monetary value. Big Four also has some benefits that are like maybe from annual bonuses. Like back in Nigeria, I mean, we would earn some annual bonuses or some kind of, you know, some kind of other benefits that are not directly linked to your salary, like good health insurance. You know, there are other things you should check out for, right? But yeah, but if you're talking about the gross salary, like what hits your account at the end of every month, in some countries of the world, the Big Four just doesn't pay as much. But who knows, in a country like Nigeria, they're still one of the good employers that actually pay well, right? So yeah, so it's which is why I said relatively, because yeah, but I mean, at a high level, if you just look at it, you know, generally, you could say, well, you could earn, you know, much better in industry if you left the Big Four for industry. Yeah, so the pay is one huge con. Another negative reason why people might not want to work for the Big Four is because of the underutilization of your vacation. Yeah, I don't know, that sounds like some kind of rhyme, but you guys get what I mean, right? So yeah, so I was just talking about benefits, and I said some of the benefits may not be monetary. So yeah, so I mean, typical Big Four firm will give you like vacation days, you know, sick days, self-care days, you know, all of that. But because of the nature of the work and the fact that you actually have to put in those hours to get your utilization and all of that, you might not have as much time to actually take those leave. Like, you're actually so busy doing the work that you might forget to take your leave. So what this means is, I mean, as much as the firm tries to like encourage people, you know, take time off, go recharge and refuel, you just do not remember to do that because you are, again, geared towards your performance, like you want to just be the person who's always busy, like, you know, working so hard for the firm. Yeah, so some people notice that they don't get to take as much leave as if they were working, for instance, in an industry where, yeah, once you're done reporting, you just take time off, like, you know, after that month. So at least on a month-to-month basis, once you're done with the monthly reporting, you can literally take the next day off or the next 2 days off, like, if that's what you want to do. But for the Big Four, there's usually another client kind of waiting. So you hardly have that, you know, freedom to just take your annual vacation as you would ordinarily love to. So yeah, so be aware of that. I mean, it's a con, right? Yeah, but of course know that this is not a problem of the company itself. It's just the culture. The culture is one of a grind. Like, everybody's grinding, everybody's busy. So you don't want to be the person who was just taking vacation when everybody else had to show up, you know, and give their best, and, you know, do those meetings as late as they, you know, as late as they had to be held, you know, all of that, right? So yeah, so you kind of are under that pressure to, you know, kind of be utilized for the firm. So yeah, so that could be a huge con for working for the Big Four. Another thing that people kind of find annoying, if I would use that word, about working for the Big Four is the fact that some introverts, I'm gonna say, struggle with working for the Big Four. Again, because the nature of the work is consulting, so you have to be a people person, right? Like, you have to be out there, your work has to be visible, right? So if you're someone who's really quiet and just logs in and does their work, you might struggle. I'm not saying you would not be promoted and all of that, but you would largely struggle, because think about it, you want to sell something, right? How are you going to make manager, for instance, if you're not out there looking for like opportunities for the firm, having those conversations with your clients and asking them what their pain points are? You know, think about it, right? So if you're just so quiet and so shy, you might struggle. You might do actually better in the industry where you just, like, you know, behind the scenes, you're doing your work, you don't have to smile to anyone, you just, you know, do your work and get it done. But for Big Four, it's consulting. So yeah, so to thrive there, people say, yeah, you drunk the Kool-Aid and all of that. Not really. You just kind of have to be visible. So yeah, so on LinkedIn, you're liking their posts, your manager makes a post, you want to be someone who likes it, at least to be visible. Yeah, so I'm not saying you should go liking posts randomly on LinkedIn. That might not even be the KPI for where you work, but I'm just giving you an example, right? So yeah, so all of these things are cumulatively about, you know, marketing the brand in good light and, like, you know, kind of bringing business for the firm. So all of these are important, right? So it's highly imperative that you build on your skills, but of course the firm will provide you a lot of training to kind of harness the skills. So that's also a pro, I mean, in that regard. But off the top of my head, I will tell you that if you are someone who is not all out there and outspoken, you might find that, yeah, working for the Big Four might be a consequence, because if nothing else, you're going to be working in teams, right? So that means you have to be communicating among your teams, like, what are you up to, what are you doing, talking about your work to other people in their team. So you have to be outspoken, you have to, you know, work on that, right? So yeah, so that could be a consequence for working in the Big Four. So yeah, guys, so in this video I've gone through some of the negative stories and some of the negative experiences that those who have worked for the Big Four firms, Big Four, of course, PwC, KPMG, EY, Deloitte. Yes, so if you work for any of these companies, you might, you know, agree with some of my experience that I've shared. You might be like, nah, I don't think that's a con, I think that's even a pro. I mean, it's all debatable, right? Which is why this video is more or less my experience and experiences of others that I've read or researched on. Yeah, so I will just tell you guys for free, this is not to, again, dissuade you from working for the Big Four, but more like opening your eyes to some of what you might experience. Experience, again, is personal, right? So from one person to the other, you might not even be able to relate to anything I've said in this video, because that's probably not your experience, and that's totally fine. But if you do relate to any of them, please let me know in the comments. And if you want to argue, please argue in the comments, and let's, I mean, share insights and more or less help people who are about to make career choices for if they want to enjoy working for the Big Four or not. Until next time, guys, see you guys in my next video. Bye.